Hi everyone, it's been a really long time since I've had time to make a video for you again. If you've been following the blog, you might have seen my post a couple of weeks ago where I started talking about how to use seasonal products outside of the purpose they were made for. I did a non-Valentine's card with the Valentine's pumps from Concord and Ninth, the petrol pumps. Excuse me. I did say I'd got some other ideas on how to stretch your seasonal supplies even more. So today what I'm going to be working with is, the print's rubbed off him a little bit, but this is the cat with Christmas ornament from Licia Zagadia's stamp range. This is just the printed sheet. Sometimes the ink doesn't stick to that, so it's not a defect. This is the stamp on my block ready to go, and as you'll see, he's got a big Christmas ornament in his hands, so we'll ink him up and stamp him so you can see that in more detail. And I love all her cat designs. It's not a great first impression. Sorry, I should have seasoned my stamp a bit more before I did that, but this is just scratch paper, so it doesn't matter. There we go. So as you can see, let's pick the paper up. He is a really fluffy, chunky cat, and he's great to colour, but he does have this big Christmas ornament. If you want to use him year round, then the ornament isn't great. However, there are a couple of tricks that you can do with a stamp that has something in it that you don't want. So the easiest and simplest, I made a card that I'll share with you in a minute that could be Valentine's-y, or also could just be an all year round sending love to someone. So this little die fits completely over the ornament shape. So one of the easiest tricks is, if a stamp has an item on it that you don't want, just cover it up. So that's what I did with the first version that I made. So here you can see I've just done a with much love. So I've stamped him as normal, and on this one I didn't even bother masking out, which is what I'll show you in a minute, the ornament, because I wanted the hanging element so that I could show him handing over like a love heart necklace. So I just die cut using my little die. This is I think this is from a Hero Arts Heart Infinities dies, but loads of the sets that we sell, Low on Fawn and Concord and Ninth, loads of them have little hearts in them, so I'm sure you can find a heart-shaped die that will cover up the element that you want to get rid of. I've just stamped him onto white card, coloured him with pencils, fussy cut him. I use super tiny scissors, which is just my preference, but whatever scissors you like. The Licia Zagadia doesn't do dies, so if you don't want a whole image on the card, then you're going to have to do some fussy cutting. I didn't get completely close to him on this one. I'd left a little white border, which is useful when you've got little bits of whiskers and things sticking out. And if you're not confident about cutting and leaving a white border, I sometimes draw around with a pencil first and then just cut to the pencil line. And then I've done the same again. I've stuck him onto vellum and just followed the shape of him round on the vellum, because I've used this quite busy background pattern, and he was a little bit lost into the pattern, so just having a little vellum border just tricks the eye a bit and gives a bit more separation. So that was element one, the easy way of covering up an element in a stamp you don't want. For element two, as I just indicated before, you can mask out the element that's there, and there's a couple of ways of doing that. So the same with masking when you're layering. If you get, this is just, I use post-it tape on a roll for lots of my masking because it's sticky the whole way across it. So what I'm going to do for this is just stamp the bit I don't want. And then I'm going to roughly trim around it. We don't need to be super accurate, but this takes up to his paws and the necklace, and avoiding his fur. And then you can literally, you'd have to have a fully cleaned stamp first, but if you put that bit on where you don't want the ink up the whole stamp, and then imagine the stamp is clean underneath. You just peel that bit away, get rid of it, and then when you do your stamped impression, the area that you don't want in the middle is clean enough for you to colour over and it not be there. It would be perfectly clean if you hadn't inked the stamp first like I did. The other alternative, if you don't want to cut a mask, is a cotton bud. So I just use my water bottle, spritz the cotton bud, and then wipe away the ink from the area you don't want. And it might be that you lose a little bit of the paws and things that you do want, but we'll come back to that in a minute. So then you can, if you don't want to cut a mask, you can selectively ink, which it's something you can't really do with a big ink pad, but it works with a little cube. So that you can just literally use the corner of the cube to tap close to where you want, but not without catching it. And then just make sure you've not gone back. And then when we stamp him again, we shouldn't have any of the star showing. It's not a perfect image because I'm just doing this quickly for the purposes of the video, but you get the idea. And if you have skipped a little bit of his paws, then you can just, because there is a light bit there, you can just quite easily pencil you put them back in with a fine liner. So that gives you a way to completely get rid of the element. So now he's just got hands holding nothing. So for my example with this one, I've given him a mug to hold. The little mug is from one of the Lawn Fawn Build a Critter costume add-ons. It has a handle, but I've just trimmed the handle off. And when I've cut him this time, I have followed very closely to the lines of him, and I've used a craft knife to just cut around his hands, so that I can pop the mug inside so it looks like he's holding a mug. And then I've just used the new waffle flower grass background, which I absolutely love. Excuse me. And for this one, I've coloured in with alcohol markers rather than pencils, just for a little bit of difference. And I've used alcohol markers. I cut the elements of the grasses, the tall grasses, and the from the same card as I have you cut the background with, and then I just use 3 shades of green markers to differentiate them from the background. So I think we forget that a die cut just doesn't have to be a solid card colour. You can colour like you do a stamp. So I've done the same. I've cut the flowers from yellow and then added a bit of darker yellow with a Copic marker to give the flowers some depth. So that's my my trick with elements in the middle of a stamp that you want to mask out. Let's take him off. Now with sentiments, you'll often see me writing that I've changed the sentiment from what it's intended, because sometimes they don't say exactly what I want them to say. So I'm a big fan of stamp surgery. So on this card, which I'll be sharing later in the week on the blog, wishing you and happy birthday comes from 2 different sentiments from this set. So wishing you a happy was one, and then birthday is separate. So I have literally snipped that sentiment into two, which might look drastic, but when you put them back on your acrylic block, if you want them as they originally were, you just line them up and push them together, and when you stamp that, it might not be straight because I haven't lined it up, but you will not see a gap at all, so it's as if you haven't cut it apart at all. However, if you don't want to cut apart a sentiment, so this one, wishes for a special day, let's say we don't want the word wishes, so we'll pop this on our block, and then here you can use a bit more of your masking tape, sellotape, post-it note, whatever works for you, and then literally ink up as normal, straight over to make sure you get the F, peel that off, and then when we stamp that, we're only going to see the for a special day, and the wishes hasn't been touched at all. So hopefully you can see that's a really useful way to stretch the supplies that you've got, and that Christmas stamps don't have to just be for Christmas. Okay, if you thought that was useful, give us a like on YouTube and follow us, and hopefully I'll be back with more videos more regularly. Okay, happy crafting.